The Surgeon General is now admitting something that you have been saying for a while, which is that we're now on a point on our own epidemiological curve where you can basically see our future by looking at the timeline of where Italy was about 10 days or 2 weeks ago. If that is where we're heading, with the death rate spiking now in Italy, with the Lombardy governor saying we are about to not be able to offer care in hospitals anymore, if that's where we are, what priorities should derive from that? What are the most important things our medical system should be doing right now to prepare for that happening to us within 2 weeks?
Okay. I will predict that since we are going down the path of Italy, and we are a much bigger country than Italy, that we will surpass Italy in the number of dead in a few weeks, because we are following the Italian model, not the Asian model. I don't understand why we're looking at a small town like Vo in Italy when that same lesson that you have to test and isolate as many people as possible was a lesson learned in cities all over Asia months ago, and we have been paying very little attention to what they're doing. I think I talked before about doing fever checks at every building and doing testing as much as possible, and how you do the safe testing. But on hospital preparation, we're doing things like ending elective surgery in our hospitals, which is great. That's step number one, fine. But in China and in other places, they segregated the hospitals. They said, okay, you 3 hospitals are going to be designated to do nothing but COVID patients, and the others are going to handle the heart attacks and the babies that need to be born and the car crashes and everything else, because we don't want the coronavirus patients infecting the regular emergency patients. If they couldn't do that, they would create separate wings in the hospitals. It was basically known as the dirty wing and the clean wing. The wing of the hospital had nothing but coronavirus patients, and the other side had nothing but other emergency patients. And the 2 staffs never crossed the zone. It was assumed that, like those nursing home employees, they would carry the virus from one side to the other. Inside those hospitals, they would build walls in the wings with windows in them so that a ward became an isolation ward. And you went into it basically like you do into an Ebola treatment center. You had a gray area where you did put on your personal protective gear under the eyes of a nurse who saw that you were doing it perfectly. You would go through the ward in one direction only and come out at the other end when you'd finished treating patients, and you would then take off your gear under the eyes of a nurse. You don't have to do the kind of advanced crazy disinfection that they do in Ebola wards with chlorine showers and everything, but you have to take it off carefully because it can contaminate you. The other thing they did all over Asia is, for the mild cases, the mild to moderate cases, in other words, people who did not need to be hospitalized, they didn't go home. They went into isolation centers. We have all sorts of empty buildings around now. Madison Square Garden is empty. The Barclays Center is empty. High school gymnasiums all over the city are empty. Those become sort of miniature hospitals for the people who are infected but don't need to be put into a hospital, because that way they don't infect their own families. It's 80% of the 75 to 80% of the clusters there were spreads within families, and it's important to stop that. And these were, there were beds, there were oxygen masks, there was really basic care, but that's how you brought people through. And they were in there for 2 to 3 weeks, and most of them recovered and were able to go home. And they were survivors, and they were able to donate blood to help other people survive. They were able to walk the streets. They're okay. They've recovered, and they're thrilled. We're not planning that here, as far as I can tell.
My guest is Donald McNeil, science and health reporter with the New York Times, who has incredible international experience with these things.